Got a 2006 Hyundai Tucson here. Going to be changing out the radiator. So this will be a video on how to take really your upper radiator hose out, your fan out, and your radiator too. Kind of thought about this after I already started, so if you want to skip to the end of this video, that'll have me installing everything, so it'll just be the reverse on how to do all that. But one thing you will need is a 10mm socket first for your first two screws, which are going to be located right here at the top. Sorry, right here and right here. That's going to hold on your coolant reservoir. So those will be sitting here. That'll be the first thing we take off. Just take off those two 10mm. You'll have, this will come right out. It's not connected to anything. It's their drain. This hose that's connected to the radiator will be connected right here on this nozzle. You'll just want to unhook that. That'll be the first thing you get out of the way. Next step I've done is take a pair of vice grips here. That's the easiest. You can use pliers. You'll have hose clamps. This is setting up right about here. So once you take your reservoir off, you'll have looking like this. So you want to take these, you want to pinch these here real tight. They'll squeeze together. You can't do it by hand. Squeeze together. As you can see, it was sitting here, the imprint here. You want to squeeze them together, slide it back. You'll pull that hose clamp off. Do the same one to that. Just get that out of the way. Next thing, you'll have your air intake in the way too. You just want to, there's usually some screws here, look like this. Just unscrew them, pop them out. These are gone. So it just came right out. And this is just goes in place with pressure, so they'll just pop out. Slide that out of the way, and you'll be about where I'm at now. Your fan assembly will have, there you go, this electrical connector. All you're going to want to do is push this tab in, pull it out. That'll free up your fan to come loose. And then you'll have another 10mm here. And on the other side, down here, you want to take those out. That'll free up the top of your fan. And then down here, it's connected with a little U clip. Let's see if they can focus. So you want to pull this tab out. I don't know if you can see it bending. Pull it out, and then this will just pop out of it. I hope that makes sense to you, but that's where I'm at right now. I'm going to see if there's anything else that needs to be taken out, and then we'll go ahead and try and get this radiator fan out. Alright, so we got the radiator fan assembly out. The only other thing you had to do, you'll see this guy sticking up. You try to pull it out, this will be in the way. There is a 12mm bolt. That you can see I took out here. There's also one right here. It holds this bracket in. You'll see whenever you try to pull it out, it'll keep getting caught on this. All you have to do is take out the one that holds this bracket and this bracket in together. It's hard to see on camera, but you'll see very easily. There's a little 12mm bolt here. I found it easiest to just use a wrench and try and get in there. It's too tight for a ratchet to fit in. If you loosen the right one, it'll pivot on the left side here. And it was very tight, by the way, so you might struggle with that one, but it'll come free. So as you can see, the clearance increases greatly when you pull that down. Now you have all this space. When it's up like that, you only have this little bit. So once you pivot that down out of the way, and you may have a heat shield or something. I don't know what will be connected here for you, but mine was empty. I don't know what should have been here, what's supposed to be here, but just slide that down, unclip the little U-clips. Now you can probably see a good visual on this little U. Maybe not. Maybe this side's better. Yeah, see, it's just a little U, so you'll pull this clip out. It'll slide right out. So that's how you take that out, and now I will, well, I guess your new radiator fan assembly will come like this if you want. If you're just doing the fan, then the new one you'll just do in the reverse order. Slide that in, put the clips in, screw those 2 bolts in, pivot that back out, put it on, and then put your hose and everything else that you saw on. But now, for those of you who are sticking on for the radiator, we're gonna go ahead and get that out now. All right, so your next step for the radiator, you're going to have a clamp right here holding this radiator in. 10mm bolt again. You're gonna want to take this top one out, then it'll kind of open like a little clamshell, then you just want to pull it up. It may fall out on its own because it's just sitting in that little, sitting with that down in it. So you just want to slide that up. That'll come right out. One thing I like to do is put my bolt back in the hole it came from, that way you don't lose them. Yeah, we're gonna go ahead and get that back in the way. Let's see, it's all loose. All right, I'm gonna search around for what else is gonna be next, and then I will update you soon. So one other thing you're gonna want to do before you start taking everything off is to take off your lower radiator hose. This glare is not helping much. Anyway, you follow this tube, it'll connect down to here. Gravity's naturally gonna pull all the coolant down to there. That's gonna be the lowest point. So as soon as you break this free, all the coolant from the engine is gonna want to flow down this hole and escape. So make sure you get a bucket down here. Go ahead and unclip that, let it all pour in here, and then we will get to the next step. So one of the next things is to get a 13/16 wrench, and you'll have a line that looks like that right down there. That's gonna be your oil cooler. You want to break that free. Same thing up here. This connects into here. You'll just want to break that 13/16 free. Leave the backside there. Just break this one free. It'll come off on its own. Same thing here, and you'll want to change your pan out to get an oil drip pan, because this here is going to be for your oil cooler. You want to take that off. Open this guy up. And you'll have some oil draining out there. So I'm going to let this drain out for a little bit, and then we should have just a couple bolts left, and then we'll be all good. So I'm hoping the last 2 bolts are just going to be to remove the condenser, which is the bolt right here in the middle over that white circle. Same on the other side. You got one right there behind that line. I don't know if you can really see it. But once we take those 2 off, I will update you on if it can come out or not. Alright, so those last 2 bolts were all it was. You'll see this little piece of metal sticking out. You have another one down here on the bottom. Once you take the 2 top bolts off the bottom, again, there's no bolt, so it just sits in that little U-clamp like the radiator does. Those are, where is that? On the back side, actually. So your condenser on the back just sits in there. So all you do is slide those up. And then there's another line. There's lines clipped into the sides here and one here. Those are going to be the lines that you took off with the oil cooler. So that'll also be holding it up. So just unclip that. And your radiator pops back out. And then replacement will basically be the uninstall backwards. So I'm going to go ahead and clean all this out while I got everything apart. Make sure it's not all greasy like this, and then go ahead and get the new one in. Alright, so the new radiator came in, and the first thing you're going to want to do is match up your new one to your old one size-wise. So there, they're the same width, get a little top view of it. Same width, same depth. And then you're going to want to go match up. Make sure, like, we got our cap coming out and up. Out and up, we got 1, 2 lines with a bolt and a hook. line, bolts in here, hooks right here. We've got our outlet, our inlet hose. So just want to go ahead and make sure everything's the same. And I noticed on this Hyundai, I'm sure for other Hyundais, the radiator cap has an HCC. Yours will probably have an HCC or a DCC. Make sure that whenever you get your new radiator, it's either, I think it's like Duon or Hala are the names of it, but I guess they're not compatible, so make sure that you check to see which one you have. So once you've matched up the size and you realize you're not wasting your time, the other thing you want to do is, see these little dowels on the bottom of the radiator? You're gonna have two little holes where the old one came out. Towards the bottom, right here on each side. You're gonna want to, even though you already matched it up, go ahead and stick those in for now, and make sure that it can like sit in those and pivot, and the bottom doesn't move. But after that, you'll probably want to take them out so that way your radiator's not stuck in place, and that way you can move it around. Then the first thing you're gonna want to do is get the condenser. So you remember from earlier, it had this on the bottom. You're gonna want to line that up in the hook on each side, and then go ahead and put these bolts for these little fins back in. You'll have one on each side. That'll go right here. Don't forget to take your old bolts out of the radiator. And again, new radiator sitting in like this. That condenser fin's gonna go right here in this clip. Then it's gonna bolt into the back here. So we'll go ahead and do that now. So I'm really hoping getting the condenser hooked up to the radiator was the hardest part, because that's your bolt that you need to get in on each side. And this little hole in the grill is going to be your best friend, because that's really the only way you can kind of reach back in there and start threading it in. Up top doesn't really do you any good, so yeah, it's going to be very difficult. But once you get those first two in, and go ahead and get your two little dowels lined back up and kind of get these lines back in place, because they'll hold you up, they'll get you stuck. So get those in where they need to go, and then we'll get on to the next step. Alright, so the next step is going to be attaching your lines. Just use, I know I said earlier 13/16, go ahead and use in 3/4. 13/16 is a little too big, so you're gonna go ahead and put that on. Put your lower one on. Attach your radiator hose. You can clamp it down now if you want. I'm just gonna do it later. But your next step is gonna be to get radiator mounts in, and you have the bolt on the top. So make sure to take these rubber things off your old one. This little clip is gonna go into the bottom here, like that. It'll pivot down, and then just bolt it up, and then you got your radiator back in. So once you have your radiator back in, your next step is just going to be to put your fan back in. And it's a little difficult to line up. You're going to want to just place it in there, and then try and get your bottom piece of your fan down here to line up in those U-hooks that you took them out of. You'll kind of feel it almost like snap in place. Mine was really difficult to align with the hoses and everything in the way, or these lines in the way. But once you get that, go ahead and put those two bolts back up here. Next we're going to go ahead and and you're going to want to connect the overflow line from the fan to the radiator. You're going to go ahead and put your coolant hose back up. Use your grips, put the lines back on. Make sure your bottom radiator hose is back tight on your new radiator. After that, you're going to go ahead and take your coolant reservoir, put your two 10mm bolts back in here, attach this line to the bottom of it, and go ahead and put your air intake back in the way. And then after that, you should be good to go. Nothing else you really need. So one other thing I forgot to mention is go ahead and make sure you put that clip back in for your fan to activate. Otherwise, your engine's going to work a lot harder than it needs to. But go ahead and just give everything another tug. Make sure these hose clamps are good. Make sure all your lines are back up. Go ahead and check your oil, because it may have came out with the oil cooler line. And go ahead and fill up your radiator with antifreeze and make sure there's no leaks or anything. And go ahead and start your car, and go ahead and bleed the system. You may want to look up another video on how to do that. It's pretty simple, just to get all the air out of your lines in your radiator and get the max coolant you can in it. But yeah, other than that, you should be good to go, and that's all there is to it.